Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is a follow-up video from Module 3, Lesson 4, where we constructed our little ball arena. This was the lesson that we did previously where we actually were able to create our ball game, and at this point you should have been able to make your ball move around, and then yes, it should be a playable game where you can crash into the blocks, add mass, and each block should be independent, meaning when you slam into them, they fall over, not as one big piece, but individually, like so. Alright, we're going to take it a step further now. We are actually going to add a scoreboard. So we're going to do something new today. I'm going to go back to my scene and zoom out a little bit. I'm going to make some room right up here for a scoreboard. So we're going to go back to our website, Mr. Sakowicz's page on the Felix Varela Senior High School page, and you should see instructions for Module 3, Lesson 5. Today might be either Monday or Tuesday, whenever you're looking at this, but we are looking at Module 3, Lesson 5, Scriptable Objects Scoreboard, and it should look like this when you open that up. Alright, there are a lot of pages. There's about 10 pages, but I'm going to go through it with you right here, and it should be very, very simple. If you follow me step by step, this should be very, very simple. Alright, so we need our Unity project open. You should have already had that open, and you should have already completed the ball game. If you have not yet completed the ball game, stop now and go back and complete that first. You cannot move on and take score and add scoring until you complete the ball game. So it should look something like this, and it should be playable. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, we're going to go into our instructions, and I'm going to read through it pretty quickly, but pretty nicely with you. So this makes sense. So we can read through this and understand this section. We're going to create and learn about scriptable objects. That is the whole point of this. And we're going to create a scoreboard, of course. And it will actually keep score for us. So since it's just a class, like others are written, it can be used to store a variable or methods. In this case, it's going to be scores. So we're going to add up the scores. So we're going to open up a project we did, and we have it open. We're going to go into our scripts folder and create a new script called int object. And yes, you could just copy that right from my instruction sheet here. So you make sure you spell it right. Capital I, capital O. We'll go into our Unity project, and we are going to go into our scripts folder. If you don't have a scripts folder, you should have one, and ball move should be in there. All right, under your under assets, you should have materials, your prefabs, your scenes, and you should have one thing in there. And then your scripts, you should have the ball move script. So we're going to create a new script, and we're going to call it, I'm going to paste that in, int object, just like that. All right, again, for unsure, it's right there. This will be our first scriptable object script. We're going to open that up. So we'll double click that from Unity and open up Visual Studio. And that should only take a couple seconds. We can read on while that's loading up. And then we start by deleting everything inside our new object class and the two top system classes as well, because we will not be needing those. I'll include both top lines in the same script. All right, we've done that. We need to turn our class to a scriptable object. So we're going to replace an object parent with the scriptable object class. In other words, we're going to copy this part here, and we can include that into our code. So we'll make sure we should be up and running, and we're going to replace everything. So delete, Control V for paste, and we should have our new scriptable object class. All right. And it should look like this. If you have the two brackets together where there is not a space like I just did, just hit a enter and give yourself some space, because this is our public class. We're probably going to want to put something into that public class, but understand that this is now a scriptable object, different than what we would have had before in a mono behavior. Okay, we only need to add 2 more lines of code before we're done with our very basic script. And inside our class, we're going to declare a new public int, named value. So just above our class. So we're going to add a keyword that will let Unity know we are wishing able to generate new instances of this class. Inside the editor, create asset menu. All right, so create asset menu is what we're going for here. So our final int scriptable object should look like this. We started with recreating our coding like this with the Unity engine, public class int scriptable object. We're now going to insert that public int value and the create asset menu. So we're going to include this line now. So we could just copy that and go back and replace everything just like that. So we added a public int value, we added a create asset menu, and we still have our scriptable object, and the name is int object. That int object must be the same as the file name. Very, very important. We're going to save there. And now at this point, we're wondering why we went through the trouble creating a whole new script just to store a simple integer value. The reason is that we can now create new public integers that are not locked in a specific component and can be accessed from any game object in our scene without the hassle of using the get component. All right, so we're going to jump back into Unity and learn how to create a new instance of our class. We're going to create an instance that stores a score variable to be displayed on the scoreboard. All right, if you're still kind of confused or not following along well, just follow along with me and you're going to understand better what we're doing when we create our little scores and how to pick up little scores, our little objects. So we're going to go to create a new instance that stores a score and maybe display it on the scoreboard. So we're going to create a new folder. We're going to create a new folder inside the assets folder. So we're going to go back to Unity and we're going to go back to our assets and it's going to be called, what was it? Scriptable objects. You could just copy and paste that from here as I did. Scriptable objects. All right, it's going to be a folder, not a script, a folder, and paste that value in, scriptable objects. All right, that's a new folder, not a script yet, it's a folder. It's inside the assets. Okay, don't put it inside the script, don't put it in the scenes or materials or prefab. Scriptable objects has its own folder. We're going to go inside there and so we're going to store our scriptable object. Now we can right click anywhere inside the folder and create a new int and call it score. Did you follow with me with that? We're going to right click inside that new folder and it's going to be create int object. That was not an option before, but now it is. And we're going to click on that and we're going to call it score, capital S-C-O-R-E, score. Okay, just as it says in my instructions, score. All right, we're getting there. Now, this is what your folder should look like now. You have assets, scriptable objects, and just like that, you have a new instance called score. Actually not seeing it right here directly in this little window, but believe me, it should look like this new icon. It shouldn't look like a script. These are the C# scripts. We want the scriptable object folder, and inside there, that int object, it should be called score. Now come up here and look at the inspector. We actually now have a script and a value of 0. I can actually move that value, and we'll see what that does in a little bit. Right now, just leave that on 0. But that's where we're actually going to play with and see how our value can go up or down. So we're getting there very quickly. Stay with me. Hit Control-S on your keyboard right now in case the power goes out while you're working on this. So you are good to go. So just like that, we now have an instance of our new object, int object class called score. We're only creating one instance of the object script for this mini project. However, you can create as many as you want. Now, when I say instances, what I really mean are something that you can touch to pick up score. So like in Super Mario Brothers, it might be a little gold coin. In Pac-Man, it might be those little pellets. Anything you want. So in this case, our little green ball that we have here is actually going to pick up, it could be little spheres, it could be little triangles, little boxes. We're going to keep it simple and make little cubes. But I just want you to understand for now what we're actually aiming towards. We're actually creating little instances that we can pick up as little scores. That's how we're going to keep score. Okay. And now we're going to click on score and you just see the for value. So we did that already. We were looking in our score when we click on this and it shows up here in the inspector. So let's say I click somewhere else in the Unity project up here, but if I come back to that scriptable object, you see up here in the inspector, it does show the value and the score in the inspector. All right, are you still with me? If you're getting confused, you can pause and go back at any time. Okay, now with our new score scriptable object array, we can attach it to any component we wish to have access to our score. In other words, we can have something actually pick up score. Of course, for us, what do you think it's going to be? It's going to be the green ball or whatever color your ball is, or object in this case. So that's going to be the object that picks up the score. If you're still not with me, watch. It's going to get very, very obvious and make sense. So now we're going to create our scoreboard. This is a fun part. We're going to make a little scoreboard. It's very simple, but it's going to be what displays a score for our game. And you can be creative and do anything you want with it. I want you to be creative. I don't want it to be too simple. I want you to have fun with this. So with our score scriptable object created, let's create a scoreboard display. And after we add some score pickups, we'll be able to increase the score. Inside the hierarchy, go ahead and create a create 3D text. So we have not done this yet, and we're going to call it scoreboard, just like that. Very important things are named properly. So we're going to go to hierarchy, which is over here on the left, of course. We're going to right click, 3D object, 3D text. Again, I'm in the hierarchy, just right in the open there, 3D object, 3D text. And you will immediately see, I'm going to move my board a little bit, you can reposition yourself as well. You're going to immediately see this new score object that comes in. And what it is it's going to be our little scoreboard. Right now it just says hello world. We're going to change all that right here. And we're going to make it say score, whatever we want. We're going to rename it to scoreboard. So if you, like me, didn't do it immediately, highlight it, left click slowly, and then call it scoreboard. It must be called scoreboard. Very important, so it hooks up with the scriptable object. You need to call it scoreboard. All right. And you should see the blurry text saying hello world floating in our scene, which we saw. Very good. And we're going to reposition it like we did so it's off the edge there. That's where we want it. If it's not perfectly off the edge, you see how it's kind of inside our game a little bit. You can see how it's 3D text. So it's actually floating there in the middle. We're going to move it back a little bit so it's not in our game. We're going to push it back behind the game. All right. We'll do that a little bit and we'll be good to go. Okay. All right. We can reposition it still, make it up or down, whatever we desire. All right. I'm just going to make it there for now. Now, once we have that, we're going to open up the score text in the inspector and we're going to increase the font size and lower the character size to get it back to where we started with. It'll make it look nice and crisp. All right. Increase the font size and lower the character size. Increase the font size. All right. And lower the character size. See what we did there? And now it's looking better. It's looking nice and crisp. So the larger you make the font size the way we want it to look, and as large or small as you want it to look, we'll keep it looking crisp and good. So make the character size about 0.2, and then you can bring your font size up and make your score as big as you want. You can make it as large as you want. I don't care. And as you see, the larger you make it, it still stays crisp. All right, I'm going to make it really large in the back there. All right. And you can play with the sizing as we just did until it looks good. All right. We just passed through all that. We're getting there very quickly. Stay with me, everyone. If you're still getting a little confused, back up on the video, but you should be working on scoreboard 3D text, and you should have had it sized about like that or smaller or larger. Okay, you may need to reposition your camera like I did. Very good. In the text mesh component in the inspector, you'll be able to change the text wherever you want. However, get our score as a text, we will need to write a script to replace that runtime with our score value. Okay, so that's going to be in the text mesh. So we're going to call this score. All right, something like that. All right. With our new scoreboard set up, let's write the script to replace hello world with our scene. So in the scripts folder, create a new script called score text and open it up. So in the scripts folder, let's go back to assets, into scripts. All right. In the scripts folder, in this assets folder, we're going to go into the scripts folder and we're going to call it score text. Very important. It's got to be exactly like that. So right click, create score C# script, score text. All right. Are you with me? Score text. And we're going to open that up into Visual Studio. All right. That should open up and reload. Waiting. Where's our little script there? Score text. There it is. Score text. Okay. And let's go back now to our instructions. Once you have it open, we're going to declare a public int score. A public int score. This will be the scriptable text. This will be the score scriptable object we created earlier. All right. If you're getting a little confused, again, pause and back up to understand that scriptable object. And underneath that, we will declare a private text mesh scoreboard, which will be the text mesh component, which of course is what we just created there. So it's calling to that. Okay, and it's going to be scoreboard. Okay, so let's stay in Unity for a second, go back to Visual Studio and take a look what we're working with first, and then we're going to go back into our instructions to get our public class. Remember, how many public classes can we have? Just one. So we need to go back to Visual Studio and replace just our public class. All right. Again, only one public class. We're just going to replace that part. All right. We can paste inside there. And we have our public int object score and our private text mesh scoreboard. All right. So far, so good. Okay. Let's go to our instructions. Now, in our start method, we will get the reference to our text meshing component with a get component text mesh. So our scoreboard needs to be called up, and we're going to use this for initiation. Okay, and we're going to assign it to our scoreboard variable. So where is that going to go? The void start, it needs to go inside our public class. It cannot be outside, it needs to be a part of it. So we're going to put that inside the public class, just like that. I just added to my public class. I had private, public, and then a void start, and it's now inside of my public class. I just put it underneath the public int object score, and I put it underneath the private text mesh scoreboard. If you're not with me, pause and look at my script and make sure yours looks the same for score text. Save and go back. Now, all that's left is to assign the value of our score script object to our scoreboard's text property in update. All right, if you're not with me, just hang tight and you'll see what we're going to do. Instead of just directly assigning the integer value to the text, we can use string concatenation to add score just before actual score using the plus operator. All right, to understand all that a little bit better, we're going to see how it works in just a minute. Remember that our int object score is not an integer itself, so to get the integer value, we must use the dot operator. All right, we're going to go into that a little bit more as we get into this next little part here. To access the value of the score, example score value. All right, this is the part I want you to understand with that. So we're going to copy this, or an entire script should look like this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is what the whole variable should look like. So we're going to include this, but the entire script should look like this. Everything that we just talked about needs to be inside that public class. The biggest takeaway I want you to understand today is it needs to stay inside that public class. So we have our public class, open and close brackets there. We have our void start, open and close instantiation there, initialization. And we have our void update here. So we're going to call to the score and score value. We're going to call to the text of the score and how everything is hooked up. So the idea of all this is we are calling out to the pieces we just created in Unity, and we're connecting them with this script. That's what the purpose of the scripting is for, to connect everything up. Okay, so we're going to highlight everything in this script, copy that, go back to Unity, we'll go back into Visual Studio, and we'll just paste that to make sure that we see that everything is properly set up, no errors, good. And now with that script done, we're going to go back in Unity and assign everything. What does assign it mean? It means to actually connect everything up to the pieces in Unity. So now that the scripting is all done, we got to connect everything in Unity. So we're going to assign our int object score to the score property of our new score text component. Whew. All right, if that's a little confusing, let me explain. All we're going to do is assign our int object score to the score property. Okay, so let's go back, make sure we're saved in Visual Studio, and we're going to click on our scoreboard and make sure we're all set up in there. All right, we're going to save, make sure we're all uploaded in there, and we're going to go back, and again, what we need to do is assign our int score to the score property. All right, so let's take a look here. We're going to look for our score property. All right. And we need to, let's again look, if we're getting confused at all, assign our int score to the score property. And if we're not seeing that yet, we should in a moment. Let's take a look at where we are. We're going to look for our script and look for our score property. Make sure we're all set up properly. So we're going to go into Scriptable object score, and we'll find our scripts. And so far, so good. And once again, we'll just take a look. And our score text script. Let's take a look at our score text script. Where is that? Where is our score text script? We're just taking a look here to make sure that we are all connected properly. Our score text is right there. We're going to put that onto scoreboard. Okay. And there's our score text. and then we need to put the score int object onto that score text. Okay, so let's go back to that scriptable object, highlight scoreboard, and drag that on to our score text script. Again, we're working with the scoreboard. Okay, so looking at the little example here, the score int object and score text should all be connected like that onto scoreboard. Hit save, and if we press play, and let's see what happens if we change that scriptable object. Let's see what happens. Let's take a look. If we press play, make sure our game is going to be visible. Let's change the camera view a little bit. Shift Control F, and we'll hit play. And what I want to show you was, let me not be on maximize, because I want to show you what the gameplay looks like. And if I were to click on the object and change the score, it would actually go up and down. Now I'm doing it manually right now. Obviously -5 doesn't mean much, but I am now able to see our score go up. So it should start at 0, but you can see how, because we assigned that scriptable object to the scoreboard, it is now going up. We could have 100, 200, whatever. Okay, back to 0. So our scoreboard now with that script now knows to be added once we actually start playing. So you can see what it takes just to actually make this work a little bit. All right, we're getting there. I know the video is getting a little long. We're getting there. And if we stop and look at our value of our score, you'll notice it did not reset like other puns. This is something we must handle inside the script. So we're going to go ahead and open up the score text script of our scoreboard. So we're going to go back into our score text for our scoreboard. And we're going to add a line to the start to reset the value of 0 when the game starts. Our start method should look like this. So let's take a look at our script. And for the void start, all right, we're looking right here. Right now we just have scoreboard get component text mesh. We're going to add this line. I'm not going to copy everything. I just want you to see I'm adding this line only to that script. All right, score value is 0. So that way the game knows to start, the scoreboard knows to go to 0 at the beginning of the game, no matter where you put it at. It always knows to start back at 0. So if you want someone to play their game, you want them to start at 0. Now, we're going to add a pickup. What does that mean? That means when the ball moves and it picks up something, it will add the score. We're getting to the fun part now. So if that scripting was a little intense, we're getting to the fun part. With our scoreboard in place, we're going to create a pickup that will increase our score. So we're going to create a cube, and we're going to name it score pickup. All right, and yes, it should be just as we're rating there. So we're going to create a new material and call it score pickup and assign it to our cube. So I'll do that real quick. That should be easy. All right, we're going to go to our assets. It could be in the prefabs if you want. You want to put it somewhere good. Where we specifically want to add it. We didn't put a place for it, so we're going to put it eventually in our prefabs. That'll be a good place, or in our materials. But what we'll really do is put a material, just the color. So we're going to call this, what did we say it was going to be? It was going to be a 3D object. So eventually we'll put it in the prefabs folder. For now, it's just going to be a 3D object, and we'll make it a cube. All right. Bring this out over here, and let's see, where is my little cube? There it is. Bring that back into the middle of the scene there. See a little better. There we go. Now I can see where it is a little better. And it's too big. It's definitely too big. By the way, before I started playing with it, I should have renamed it properly, Score Pickup. So, Score Pickup. And I like to keep everything named properly, but I think for this one, so you don't get confused, we're going to keep it with that space. If it's a problem later, we might have to go back and change that space, but we're going to leave it like that for now. All right, and our new material is also going to be called Score Pickup. So let's add a material to that, and we're going to put that in our materials folder. Create new material, Score Pickup, and I'm going to make this one something that's very contrasted from everything else. Let's make it like a bluish color. All right, and that's going to be our pickup. How about like a light blue, like a baby blue? And that will be the color of our pickup object. Now it's too similar to the game board. I need it to be a little bit more obvious. All right, let's make it like a dark blue. That's fine. All right, that's our score pickup. So there's our score pickup object, and it's got its blue material. Now for me, it's just way too big. So let's make it maybe 0.5, 0.5 at 0.5, a nice little square. It's still kind of large, but it'll work for all intents and purposes. Okay, and we need to make sure that we do the collider. All right, we're going to set this collider to is trigger true. I click box, so let's do that. Let's go back to Unity and is trigger. Very important there, guys. Very important. Is trigger is clicked. This will make our collider a trigger collider, which means that other objects will pass through our trigger collider as if nothing was there. However, we can write a script that runs code that when an object passes through the trigger, and when it passes through the trigger, excuse me. So in other words, when we want something to touch it, it will actually become picked up for the game. An example could be an automatic door that opens when a character steps in front of it, or a checkpoint of a game that activates when a user passes a certain point of a level. We're going to use what we know when our ball is collided with our pickup without causing our ball to bounce off the pickup. All right, so is trigger, and we added our little score pickup. All right, once we're satisfied with score pickup, we're going to go ahead and make it a prefab, and you can put as many as you want. So I'm going to make mine a little bit smaller. I think it's a little too large. It's not a bad size. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller though. So now that I have it clicked on, I'm going to make it 0.3 by 0.3 by 0.3. Yeah, that's a good size. And we're going to make it a prefab by going back to Assets, Prefabs, and dragging that score pickup onto our prefabs folder. And we're going to put a whole bunch of them. Now our game right now is very, very easy, but just for the sake of the demonstration, you can make yours a lot more complex. So we can score very, very easily in this game, but we're just trying to get ourselves set up here. All right, so we're going to put a whole bunch of them. All right, I just put like 10 of them. Perfect. Make sure you save your progress. And we're going to move on and create a little script called score pickup and attach it to our score pickup prefab. So we're going to create a new score script called score pickup, and we're going to attach it to our prefab, and then we're going to open it up. So the very, very first thing we're going to do is go into our scripts folder, create C# script, score pickup. And before I load it, we're going to reload. But before I load it, I want to make sure I bring it onto my prefab. Let's see here. We're going to attach it to our score pickup prefab. Okay. Okay. So to do that, we are going to go back to Unity. And I think actually, I take it back. I think what I'd like to do is make sure that our prefab, because we create so many of them, has that script onto it. So before you duplicated so many of these, let's go back, let's delete those duplications of the score pickup, and let's make sure that our score pickup, let's delete all of those, has that, I apologize, let's go back, let's make sure that script, that score pickup, has that script already onto it. That way when you make duplications, it's already on there. You need that score pickup. All right, so now let's drag those prefabs onto our game. And I apologize, I'm only going to put a few now, just for the sake of showing you this demonstration. All right, we'll leave it at that for now. Okay, just a few. But notice they all have that score pickup, and they should have the script. If you're still not seeing the script, because I'm actually not, what did I do improperly? I think I need to drag the script onto, where did I miss something here? We're going to create a new script called score pickup and attach it to our prefab. All right, so we need to make sure that our prefab has it. And we're going to go into, where is our prefab? Maybe our script is actually best. So what we could do is put them either in the same folder or make sure that they are all with that script. If it doesn't have that script, it's not going to actually be part of the game. All right, so score pickup, not score text. That would not be the right one. We don't want that. Let's remove that. And it's got to be score pickup. All right. I made a little mistake here. Score text. All right, and then 4 and 5. All right, score pickup. All right. On 3, I'm missing one. Okay. And 2 and 1. Okay, so 1, and 3. It's got to be on every single one of them, or else it will not make sense. Okay, that's why it took some time there. Save your game again, and we should be inside score pickup, and let's move on. The script will be fairly simple, as we only want to see the pickup is collided, and we'll increase our score. So just before, we're going to declare a public int score at the top, and we can remove the start updates, and we'll not be needing them. All right, so we're going to copy all this, and we will go in and make sure we're on score pickup, paste that in, a very, very simple script right now, and we're going to be using a new Unity method called onTrigger. This method runs every time the collider intersects with the trigger collider, meaning when the ball touches the object. So it'll be a private void, remember, inside of our class. It's got to be inside of our class, not outside. So you're inside the class. We have a line, and there is our private void onTrigger. All right, it's got its own opening and closing, and our class has its own opening and closing. All right. Okay. Make sure our class picking up here has our own opening and closing. Okay. Inside our new trigger effect method, we're going to do two things. We're going to increase our score by 1, and then we're going to disable our cube. So to increment the score by 1, we're going to use the dot dot shorthand operator. Adding dot dot at the end of a value increments the score by 1. Adding minus minus decreases by 1. So variable plus plus, the same as writing variable equals variable. Just understanding the math here and where this happens. And it's also where creators of the C# language got the idea. For disabling our object, we're going to use a setActive bool method. We talked about the word bool earlier in the school year. We're going to add that to our game object. This allows us to pass the boolean to tell Unity that we either want to enable or disable our object. This method can be accessed by using the dot operator on the game object keyword. The game object keyword is just a reference to the game object our script is attached to. Here's what the onTrigger effect method will look like. So all that I just talked about will look like this. Again, inside of our class. It's got to be inside the class, everyone. Just like we're inside the classroom. So we have our private void, open, close, and we have our private void, open, close. Now, if we have an issue, we have an error, we'll need to debug that. But right now, let's just leave it like that. Now we're going to head back to Unity and attach our score scriptable object to the score property of our new script in our score pickup prefab. That should attach to our scriptable object to every pickup. So we actually did not need to do what I did when I clicked on every object in the screen. There's no limit to the number of objects that can have the reference of the score pickup. In other words, you can have as many coins or dot boxes or whatever these objects are, and it should all get updated. Now the idea is I made sure I hit apply and update, and that's very, very important up here. In the inspector, we need to make sure that we do it in a apply so it takes all the changes. All right, so I'm going to go to my prefab and make sure that scores pickup is there. Okay, very good. And make sure that we're always doing an update. Okay. All right. All right, now on some of them I might have 2 or 3 because I accidentally, as I did the update to that, it actually added them again because it was on the prefab. So we don't want to have too many, so let's delete, or we don't need only have the 1. Okay, so we're looking at our score pickup. Okay, very good. Okay, so our score pickup script needs to have, and we're going to do is we're going to attach our score scriptable object to the score property of our new script on our score pickup prefab. If you're not with me, that's okay. And if let's see what our error is. Let's go into our error here. Remember, score pickup onTrigger is already defined. Rename this or use a different parameter. All right, so we need to debug a little bit because we do have an error that we need to correct. All right, so if our onTrigger is there, we need to make sure that we're not doubling up. And it's yes, indeed, because we actually did this twice. So I missed that. Okay, lines 6 through 9, that was done twice. We can only have it once. And look how our error just goes away just like that. All right, let's go back to Unity and see if we can clear our error. Let's update. Taking us up to update. There you go, and our error is gone. Okay, so now we're good. So we go back to our pickup. We're going to make sure we apply. Make sure you apply And now, again, let's go back and we need to attach the score scriptable object to the score pickup script on our prefab. Okay, so we're on the prefab, right? We drag that on, it's selected. We're going to go back to our score property down here. That's the INT, and we need to find we're going to go back to our scripts and click on the pickup, and we need to take, which one is it? We're going to attach our score scriptable object. So we're going to go back to score scriptable objects, click on the pickup, and we're going to drag that onto score pickup script. Again, if you're confused about what I just did and how I connected everything up, it should look like this. And we've done that by creating our INT object, our couple of scripts that we added, the score pickup, and now the pickup is actually assigned with the score. Again, if you're confused, pause and go back. And with that in place, we can test our game out. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit and see if it works. Did Mr. Sakowicz do it right? Who knows? We're about to find out. And for this time, I am going to maximize on play so our game can look really cool. And I'll zoom in a little bit there and I'll align my camera better. Let's see. Let's see if our game works. So we know our ball is going to move around. All right. What happens if I crash into my object circle box door? Very good. Good. What happens if I test score? I'm trying to, oh, I go right around it. And there I scored. But that was really boring. It was really lame. I just had to score one. I want to do better than that. So what do? I need to go add in more of those prefabs. I can bring in as many as I want. As many as I want now. All right. Bring those in. Can hide one back here. All right. Make sure it's something you can actually touch. Don't build it into the wall where it's impossible. Hit save, hit play, and let's see what happens. Our score is 0, 1. Aha, what happened? Why isn't it working, you ask? Mr. Sakowicz, what did you do wrong? It's going right through it. What's happening? Let's take a look at our objects up here and make sure. And what happened was we did not attach, other than the first one, the first prefab, we did not add our score INT. So we need to make sure that that object has that script onto it. So we need to make sure that that prefab has the score scriptable object onto it. All right. And then apply. We need to make sure we keep applying. If we're not applying properly, let's delete all these. All right. And if we do not hit apply, we're not going to make that prefab. Let's take a look at our prefab now. Our prefab has to have score onto it. That is super important. So now when we drag that, see down here in the score pickup script on my new pickup piece, little block, it has to have score pickup for the script, and it has to have score down here. All right, this is all in the instructions. It has to line up exactly as so, just like this little sample. Okay, now we can create a whole bunch of these, and they should work nicely, and our score can go up. All right, we're going to save and go to our game and play our game. And now let's see what happens. 1, 2, well, it's adding up. I almost said right there. 4, 5, all right, 6. Can I go back here? 7, 8. And of course, you can do as many as you want. So that is how you will create your little game and your scoreboard. So you've created the game, and today we added the scoreboard. Today we created the blocks. And the most importantly was understanding these scriptable objects of how they actually connect. Now there's a lot of scripting, a lot of connecting going up. Today was all about connecting. Look at these 4 scripts we created, or 3 I should say, and we created the scriptable objects. We needed to keep everything organized. I went through it, slowly, little by little, and learned a lot about how to actually apply it to the prefab. Now, of course, there's one issue with the game, and the points will score with anything it collides with, not just the ball. So what we can do is if we actually accidentally had, and by the way, what I'm talking about is our pickup will add points to anything it collides with, not just a ball. So we're going to learn about tags, and I'm going to let you understand that a little bit better about tags and how to actually create those and what to do with those. So I want you to understand tags yourself and see if you can tag up different objects and have them either score a value of false or true, and with using the player object game tag. So I'm going to leave that to you, and you can actually then take a little further, and if you apply some material, your game could look like this. So you could actually have pieces that it touches with that actually make score, and that it touches with that do not create score. So something like this could be something really cool, and there is some different items you can use in the textures using your albedo color and your albedo map. All right, and you can create something like this. Very, very cool stuff. This is just a basic, but today for the grade, to do a screenshot, I need to see that you created the game board. It should be able to start itself up and collect scores, just like that. And it's still a game that works, just like that. But now you're actually able to pick up pieces. All right. Any questions? As always, ask me. Good luck and have fun. Go for it.